Welcome in, everybody, to Rock Solid Sports. I'm Jackson Williams. I got Jack Foster next to me. I got Dylan Becker and Jason Weirer across the glass. Guys, how we doing?
Pretty good, brother. Weather's nice outside, a little chilly, but, it's clear weather, clear sky, so it's the best you can ask for. It's great Wednesday on Rocky Top.
Absolutely. Got to check in with our guy at our sponsor, Fieldhouse Social, 2525 University Commons Way, Fieldhouse Social. Riley Haltom's there. Riley, what's going on, man?
You know how it is down here at Fieldhouse Social, man. It's always a great time. We got some good food coming out. We got Lady Vols softball actually on national television right now. They're on the TV. We got some MLB baseball. So, yeah, come down here. They're just starting up trivia here in a minute. So, yeah, come down here, get you some good food, come hang out.
And, yeah, that Lady Vols softball game playing the number 3 ranked team in the nation, Virginia Tech. Well, guys, what do we think about this? Definitely a big matchup for the Lady Vols. As Kiki Malloy, the Lady Vols have been killing it with a win over Texas A&M this weekend,
including a fur coat celebration of their own.
What do you think about that?
I mean, honestly, the Lady Vols are super exciting to go and watch. They have a lot of talent, especially like senior talent between Ivy Davis, Kiki Malloy. They're really fun to watch, and they've been making a lot of noise. And this Virginia Tech team, they're number 3 in the country for a reason. And so for that, you want to go out and see them play. And then this is going to be a measuring stick for how they're going to do, moving into this next postseason, especially after the disappointment last year, losing to Odyssey Alexander and JMU.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a big test, obviously, the number 3 team in the nation. It's going to be interesting to see how tonight goes. But obviously, it's always fun, when these types of games, baseball and softball, become more fun, with the fur coats, the mommy hats they're now making for the softball team. It's fun to see all of that kind of come together.
No, and it's great, Jackson. And I think it shows where the state of this Tennessee athletics is. All these teams are, doing stuff together, and everyone's just happy. And all these programs are on the rise, quite frankly. I mean, you see, Josh Heupel crashing Tony Vitello's presser a week ago. It's just stuff like that going on. Obviously, Tony Vitello and Zakai Ziegler having that connection back in basketball season. So it's just really cool to cover and see all these cool stuff going on with these Tennessee sports teams.
Now, did you guys see what Coach V was doing earlier?
Today? Yeah, on Ped Walkway.
That was awesome.
Yeah, there's $2 to get a chest bump with Tony V for charity for a frat here on campus. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Obviously he's suspended for chest bumping an umpire in Saturday night's game. So for him to kind of not make fun, but, kind of celebrate that almost in a way and do bumps for charity was pretty cool.
It wasn't even that hard of a chest bump.
But you can't touch an official. And
the official flopped. And
yeah.
You can't give him the opportunity to, though. But he did $2 chest bumps for the Wounded Warrior Project. How cool is that?
Yeah, it's very cool.
It's something similar to what he did, I believe, back in 2018 when he was suspended. He sat outside and he did a lemonade stand and raised money for charity.
Yeah.
And so, it's definitely.
He's a man of the people.
He is. He's a very fun coach. He's on Barstool's Bustle with the Boys this last week. Very eventful week for Tony Vitello. You think you lose your losing streak on Tuesday. You do a podcast on Barstool on Wednesday. You get ejected on Saturday, suspended. And on Wednesday, you're giving chest bumps to the students out on Ped Walkway. What a week for Tony Vitello.
Getting some cardio in, running laps around the stadium while the Vols are playing while he's suspended too. So, yeah, it's been a week for him.
Yes, definitely. And we're going to have Ice Bears head coach Jeff Carr join us. But I want to get into hockey right before he joins us, as the Nashville Predators were able to win in a shootout last night. And Matt Duchene became the first Nashville Predator to score 40 goals. And, Duchene was on the trading block this offseason. Honestly, people were calling for him to be cut. People were calling for him to be traded, anything to get rid of Matt Duchene, and he becomes the first Predator in Predators history to score 40 goals.
Honestly, that's kind of surprising that statistic hasn't been reached yet by anyone. I know the organization's pretty young, but the fact that it's been, how long, like 20 years?
The Preds started in 98, so this would be 23 years, 23, 24 in that range.
Good enough. I just know that a lot of organizations had players that reached the 40 goal mark earlier. Obviously you have the Oilers with Gretzky, I'd imagine. The Caps had, I'm just going to guess Ovechkin was the first to do that, even though he probably wasn't. as of right now, I'm just listing players that I know can score more than 40 goals. But again, it's weird that no one in Nashville's done that, but it's cool that it's finally happening. It shows that the organization's growing and getting better. And I wouldn't be surprised if they make another cup run within the next few years.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting team. They're very young right now, making a playoff push. I don't expect them to really go far in the playoffs, but they're in a weird scenario where they have a lot of elite pieces, but also they have a lot of young pieces, and you don't really know which direction to go in. I mean, they weren't expected to be very good this season, but they've come on and really be able to surprise people and are in position for the first wild card spot right now. Could be the first or second wild card spot. I believe they have a 92% chance of making the playoffs or something of that sort.
Something like that, but that's kind of the similar position Washington was in those many years. And you know the memes of I think it was like a 2-3 year window they were given, and they just kept constantly choking. The universal choking sign was changed to the Washington Capitals bird that I have on my sweatshirt, and they were able to finally capitalize and make it all the way to the finals.
They were able to capitalize.
I should smack you for making that pun, but I'm not going to because I know you have the broken collarbone. Anyways, but yeah, again, Predators, I'm going to say within the next 5 years, they reach the finals again. I know that loss against Pittsburgh was that 2017? It
was the 2016-2017 season.
I just remember back-to-back years Pittsburgh won. Very depressing. One of them was against Nashville, but they'll be able to do it again. And I think one of the biggest factors in them going the distance is keeping Duchesne and keeping Forsberg, because he's a free agent this season. I don't know what he's going to do. I heard that he's interested in staying in Nashville, but if another organization throws enough money at him, then he's probably going to leave.
Yeah, I think ideally you want to get a deal done before he gets the opportunity to test the open market. I mean, hockey doesn't have that franchise tag, do they? They don't have like a NFL style franchise tag.
I wouldn't say so. And there's a few players that tend to like stick around with teams that they've been with for so long. Like
the teams can't hold them hostage.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's why really AJ Brown isn't going anywhere, or why Derrick Henry never got an opportunity to test the open market, because their teams placed a tag on them that said, we have you for at least one more year. And as long as you're not a quarterback, you can get that tag placed on you for multiple years.
All right. That makes sense. Yeah. The NHL doesn't do anything like that as far as I know. So Forsberg could leave. Again, I hope he doesn't, most because I dropped money on a jersey. So
yeah, Forsberg needs to stay in Nashville if they ever want to compete for a cup in the next 5 years, because
he's the best thing to happen to that team in a long time. Grant, I'm still mad at George McPhee from trading him from Washington to Nashville, but because he's done so much for Nashville, he's been able to do greater things than I think he could have done in Washington, being overshadowed by Ovechkin, Backstrom, Oshie, all those other guys.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I mean, you guys got Martin Erat out of that trade. That was pretty good. I'm pretty sure he played, 10 games for the Caps?
Yep.
Because and the Preds got their generational talent. I mean, Forsberg. I'm surprised Forsberg was not the first 40 goal scorer in Predators history. I think he was like third or fourth in 30 goal scorers.
He's pretty close right now. I'm actually going to look that up.
Yeah, the Preds could go from no 40 goal scorers to 2 in one season.
And here we go. Let's see what the total's at. It pulled up a soccer player. Hang on a sec.
Gotta love Google.
There was another Forsberg in the sports. He's at 39 right now. So
okay, so he's going to be a 40 goal scorer.
When's their next game? Let's see. They are playing tomorrow, I want to say. No. But the point is, he's going to be the second 40 goal scorer in Predators history, and it's only been a few days since
Matt Duchesne.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Matt Duchesne has definitely turned it on as his time with the Pred. I thought he was gone. I thought he was probably going to get dealt to a team that was probably going to contend, but he's really turned it on. It's really good. But Dylan, what else is going on in the world of hockey that we got?
Well, let's find out on my phone. The Predators broadcaster Terry Crisp's 60-year broadcast career was celebrated last Sunday. They named a college scholarship after him, and they renamed a sheet at the Preds practice facility after him. So you guys are more Nashville-oriented people. Would you say he's been one of the most iconic voices of the area for sports?
In terms of hockey, yes. I've actually had the privilege of meeting Terry Crisp. Super cool guy. And he's awesome. He's called games on both TV and radio the last couple of years. Him and Pete Weber were really the inaugural hockey duo in Nashville, and they're awesome. They really did a great job. And the Preds have had a great broadcast team for a while, and it's definitely interesting to see how they replace Crispy.
He was hanging out at FanFest for the Stadium Series, just walking around. He was in the line for hot dogs or whatever, and you could just walk out to him, say hi, talk to him, take a picture, whatever. He was among the people, which you got to like in a local celebrity like that. Anyway, some other stuff. I mentioned the Capitals. What they did. I'm reading off of Monday's script, so speaking of Monday, 3-2 win over Colorado, excuse me. That was an exciting game. I stayed up late watching that because you got to love those West Coast games. They are playing in Vegas tonight, rematch of the 2018 Stanley Cup Finals. Should be exciting. Vegas has been always fun to watch, given the fact that they've kind of introduced a sense of showmanship to the sport of hockey. If you've ever watched their pre-game festivities, the Caps clinched a playoff spot. That's good for me, I guess. Here's a fun one. Macklemore and Marshawn Lynch, now minority owners of the Seattle Kraken. Lynch celebrated by doing donuts with the Kraken Zamboni on the ice at the practice facility.
Dude, that is right.
Can we talk a second about Matty Beniers too? That kid lit it up at Michigan, and then he lit it up at the Olympics, and now he's lighting it up for the Seattle Kraken in like a week.
No, and I have noticed that actually.
Can we take a moment to appreciate that kind of talent? That kid is special.
Anyone who can make a transition from the NCAA to the NHL and immediately make an impact is always going to be a big deal. Going forward, he'll probably hopefully be a franchise guy for the Kraken.
I think he's the first franchise guy for Seattle.
I'd say Philip Grubauer is, but that's just because
true Seattle.
Okay, organic franchise guy. There we go. I only said Grubauer because he is, I will be honest, the only Seattle Kraken player I can name off the top of my head just because he played for the Capitals. They're still a new team, and I know they're struggling, but I'm hoping over the years we'll be able to actually appreciate them more. Some other stuff. Austin Matthews is hurt, listed as day-to-day. Big deal for Toronto because he is their top. Actually, he's the top guy in the league. I will be honest. I know I talk about Ovechkin being the GOAT of all time. I hate to say it. Ovechkin's on his way down. And I think
Father Time is undefeated. We know that.
Well, except with Tom Brady, but that is a part of our NFL segment 3.
We'll talk about that later, but I think Matthews is going to be that next guy to take up Ovechkin's spot as the GOAT in the league once he leaves. The only other guy that could maybe compete is Connor McDavid, and the Oilers are not very good. So Matthews has the backing of the Maple Leafs. I think he'll be able to take them to go the distance and maybe bring Canada its first Stanley Cup in several decades. Red Wings captain Dylan Larkin is out for the season after core muscle surgery. Red Wings have been kind of plagued with injuries a lot this year. I know Jacob Vrana was hurt for a while. Now their captain's out. Losing top guys like that, never good for a team. I don't think they're in the playoffs, so it's not really going to matter. There's like 6 games left in the regular season for basically everyone else. So maybe they'll just take the time off, rebuild, reorganize, and hopefully make another run for the finals. Just because I remember Detroit was a powerhouse for a while, making the playoffs like 25 consecutive years. And I think I've seen like 3 or 4 times in the finals, twice against Pittsburgh. They went back to back. But yeah, Detroit's really fallen off. St. Louis is Vladimir Tarasenko, Minnesota's Kevin Fiala, and Edmonton goalie Mike Smith named NHL.com's 3 stars of the week. Obviously, 3 guys that have been carrying their franchise for the past while, and they're getting the recognition they deserve, and they've been good.
definitely. And we're going to take a quick break here on the other side. We're going to talk a little bit of all sports. Hopefully get Coach Carr on the line here shortly. We will be right back here on Rock Solid Sports on WTK.
Coming to Knoxville every Wednesday night at midnight.
It's The Quiet Storm. 2 hours of classic and contemporary R&B slow jams every Wednesday at midnight. Only on 90.3 The Rock, where we play music made for after midnight.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from Tennessee Smokies Baseball, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, whose 2022 regular season schedule features 6-game homestands Tuesdays through Sundays at nearby Smoky Stadium in Kodak against the Chattanooga Lookouts, Mississippi Braves, Birmingham Barons, and more. WUTK's Rock Solid Sports will cover Smokies Baseball all season long. SmokiesBaseball.com, and a link is at WUTKRadio.com.
Volunteer Radio stays on air thanks to Cool Beans, the 21-up college sports bar next to campus on Lake Avenue, a block off the strip. Cool Beans has 25 rotating beer taps and bottles. HGTVs everywhere, along with darts, pool, and arcade games. Open every day at 11 a.m. till late night. Burgers, wings, and sandwiches, vol card accepted. Cool Beans hosts Rock Solid Sports every Monday night at 7. Trivia Tuesdays, Bingo Thursdays. More on Instagram at Knox Cool Beans or CoolBeansBar.com.
Support to keep WUTK on air comes from listeners and from the UT Athletic Department and the UT Lady Vols softball team, whose home season schedule at Sherry Parker Lee Stadium features games against SEC rivals Texas A&M, Auburn, and others. AllVols.com for Lady Vols softball tickets and more. UT students need a valid UT ID for admission to all home games. WTK's Rock Solid Sports provides UT softball coverage. Volunteer Radio wishes the 2022 Lady Vols softball team good luck as they compete to return to the College Softball World Series.
Knoxville, be sure to tune in Wednesday nights from 8 until 10 p.m. for The Alternative, sponsored by Bliss and Torrey Mason Shoes on Gate Street and in West Town Mall. And Bliss Home at the Gallery Shopping Center, also sponsored by Boyd's Chicken Grill Bar and Live Music Venue in the heart of Knoxville's Old City. The Alternative features 2 hours of the best in Americana music from the station who first brought Knoxville music by bands from back in the alt-country days, like the Jayhawks, Uncle Tupelo, Steve Earle, and Jason and the Scorchers, to 90s Americana like the V-Roys, Whiskey Town, Lucinda Williams, Sunvold, and others, to modern-day Americana musicians like Molly Tuttle, Tyler Childers, Casey Musgraves, Sturgill Simpson, Billy Strings, and the Punch Brothers. You'll also get classic Americana like Johnny Cash, the band, and Emmylou Harris, and there's always Patsy Cline at 9. Tune in Wednesday nights at 8 for The Alternative. Sponsored by Boyd's Chicken Grill, Bliss Home, and Torrey Mason Shoes, and only on 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
The Rock thanks the Hill Bar and Grill for their support. The Hill on Forest Avenue is open 7 days a week at 11 a.m. until late night for dining indoors or on the expanded patio. The Hill has a variety of appetizers and a full menu of wings, burgers, tacos, and more. The Hill is our Thursday Munchie Madness sponsor and home of Friday's Rock Solid Sports. On Instagram at The Hill Knox, menu at thehillknox.com.
Follow 90.3 The Rock on Facebook and at WUTK The Rock on Instagram and Twitter. You might learn something new.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to listener donations and support from the UT Athletic Department. After making it to Omaha last season, the 2022 baseball fall season begins in February and runs into May, featuring games with SEC rivals South Carolina, Alabama, Georgia, and more at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Season group and individual game ticket info is at allvols.com. Students need to show their valid UT ID at the gate for entrance. Tune into Rock Solid Sports for UT baseball coverage, and The Rock wishes Coach Vitello and the Baseballs good luck on the diamond this season.
Welcome back, Smokey the Dog Nation, to Rock Solid Sports. I'm your host, Jackson Williams. I got Jack Foster. Next to me, I got Dylan Becker and Jason Wyrick across the glass. And at our sponsor, Fieldhouse Social 2525 University Commons Way, I have Riley Haltom. Riley, how's Fieldhouse going?
It's going great, as always, Jackson. You know, we got all kinds of great games going on right now. Lady Vols down 3-0 after the first. So rough first inning for the Lady Vols. We got some Giants, I think Nets action, and we got the NBA playoffs games going on over here. Brooklyn kind of running away past Boston, but hey, it's always a good time down here. So come down here, get you some food. Great time down here at Fieldhouse Social.
As usual, a great time at Fieldhouse Social, 2525 University Commons Way. And I hear we have a little bit of breaking college hoops news. Jason, what's going on with that?
Yeah, multiple sources are now reporting that Jay Wright, the Hall of Fame head coach of Villanova men's basketball, has retired, and Fordham's Kyle Neptune is expected to be his successor at Villanova. This is hot off the press. The story was broken just a few minutes ago. Multiple sources on Twitter are reporting this. Again, Jay Wright, the Hall of Fame head coach of Villanova men's basketball, is retiring, and he's going to be succeeded by Fordham's Kyle Neptune.
Big news, Jack. What are you thinking?
I mean, yeah, it's huge news. It's huge to the college basketball world. I mean, Villanova's been a staple dominant program for the last, 7-8 years. So, 2 national championships, they've been great. So it's going to shake it up a lot, And
it feels like it's kind of the end of the era. I mean,
it's always an end of an era when a Hall of Fame coach retires like this. So
of coaching. You lose Coach K this year as well.
Oh yeah,
Roy Williams a few years ago.
Absolutely.
You're losing Hall of Fame coaches. Left and right. How much longer is Brick Barnes going to want to do it? How much longer is, Bill Self is a little bit younger guy, but.
Jay Wright's only 60.
Yeah,
he's a pretty young guy too.
Yeah, I was kind of taken aback when you showed me Jason at the break. I was surprised, but I guess it's just what he thinks is the best decision for him and his family. So, more power to him.
Yeah, and his last game against Tennessee was a win.
Yeah,
beat Tennessee in New York.
Yeah,
early in the season. The worst basketball game I think I've ever watched. Was that the game where neither team could make anything?
No, that was
Texas Tech. Villanova is where they ran Tennessee out of the gym.
Yeah, that's a little extreme. But they dominated, but they didn't blow them out.
Yeah, I just, this entire situation is just wild to me, especially considering that Kyle Neptune is the successor, because he spent 3 seasons with Villanova. From 2008 to 2010, and then he spent 2013 until prior to this season as an assistant under Jay Wright, and then he had 1 season as the head coach at Fordham where he went 16-16, and now he's back at Villanova.
Yeah, and it's interesting that they already have their coaching search done, which is pretty rare.
They've
known this for a while.
Yeah, exactly. And they already had their guy that was an assistant, and who knows? Maybe Jay Wright said, hey, go get yourself some coaching experience and come back next year. Now, I don't know how realistic that is, but with it being taken care of that quickly, you never know.
Yeah, he knew. I feel like he knew that he was done after this year. He probably told them, in my guess, probably right after the season ended, that his decision was final, and they moved on and hired their coach. And, now one of the greatest is one of the greatest college basketball coaches is calling it a career. Jay Wright is done at Villanova after a long Hall of Fame college career. And speaking of coaching changes, the Tennessee baseball team has had to have a little bit of a coaching change the past couple of days after Tony Vitello was ejected on Saturday after chest bumping an official. And what do you guys think of Josh Elander? We've gotten to talk to him a couple of times. He's definitely in the Tony Vitello tree.
Yeah, what I think about Josh Elander is he's just a guy whose demeanor, his personality, his look screams baseball.
Yes.
He's baseball. That's just the word you think of. He's very down to earth guy. He's good with the media, but you can just tell he's got that baseball type of personality. But he's done a fantastic job the last couple of days, I think, to come in here and beat Alabama 15-4 on Sunday, massive win, and then to handle business against Bellarmine on Tuesday.
And to be able to handle emotions on Saturday.
Yes.
Tony gets tossed in the first inning or second inning?
Yeah, middle of the first inning.
Middle of the first or top because it was like the third out. Yeah, it was right after the third out.
Mm-hmm.
So, being able to control the emotions. Number one, you lost last night. Number two, your pitching coach, who's very well respected, who has been a head coach before, Frank Anderson gets tossed.
And
then Tony gets tossed.
And not only that, your pitching coach got tossed with your Saturday starter going down in the first inning, so you have to use your bullpen the entire game.
Yeah. Saturday,
after you used a lot of guys on Friday.
Saturday alone could get him a head coaching job somewhere.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, Tennessee just rebounded well, and they rallied around their, acting head coach, and they won a couple of games.
Yeah, it's definitely big. We'll see what they do when they go to Gainesville this weekend. What are you looking to see out of the Gators?
Oh, out of the series itself, I mean, Tennessee's been really solid on the road, of course. I'm just looking to see another series win for these number one Vols. Florida's kind of been slumping lately, falling out of the rankings this past run around.
And then big news out of Gainesville is Hunter Barco, their ace, has been shut down indefinitely, and that's going to begin this weekend, especially with, Friday night being kind of the weak link of the rotation in the last few weeks. I think this is huge news. Obviously unfortunate for him, but this is a huge opportunity for the University of Tennessee Volunteers baseball team.
Yeah, that's an MLB quality player that they're
he's
shutting
going
down.
in the first round of the draft easily. He's probably going in the top 10.
I doubt he pitches again this season.
Oh, I don't.
Because if you get shut down at any part of an SEC schedule and you're already going to be a first round pick, I don't think there's a point to pitch unless your team, and especially because Florida's not really contending.
Yeah, Florida's good, but they're not on that elite level.
Yeah, they're 6-9 in conference. I mean,
yeah, they're not. Yeah, they're not contending exactly.
Yeah. And so he is shut down indefinitely with elbow discomfort. So you know what that means.
Well, Chase Dolander had some elbow discomfort. He will be back this season, which is big news for Tennessee, obviously, because that looked bad. That was a triple-digit line drive off the bat to hit Chase Dolander. The reason Frank Anderson and Tony Vitello ultimately that's what started it. But definitely big to see that Chase Dolander is going to be back this season.
Yeah, he's going to be back this season, and I would expect around a 2-week absence for Doe. And who's that going to leave us with as the starter, Jackson, on Saturday?
Just an All-American, preseason All-American, just some guy off the street. Blade Tidwell, most likely going to start on Saturday. And I mean, I don't even know what to call it. It's crazy. How deep this pitching rotation is that you can lose. I think Chase Dolander, with Chase Burns' recent struggle, he
has the best stuff.
Yeah, he's got the best stuff. Drew Beam has been their most consistent pitcher, but the guy with the best stuff is Chase Dolander. And he's been consistent. He's their strikeout guy. He'll go out there and get you 10 to 12 strikeouts a game. And losing him was big, but you're putting a preseason All-American in his spot. And it's going to be interesting to see how these lineups turn out when Dolander is healthy, if Tidwell is who he was last season.
Yeah, and I think the eye will go to see how Chase Burns can potentially rebound after 2 bad weeks he's had against Mizzou, Mizzou and then Alabama last week. So we could also see a lot of Camden Toole this week after what he did last Saturday, even though he's got that bone bruise in his foot.
Yeah, but as a pitcher, obviously you need your arm more than you need your leg.
Yeah, he's fine. He's going to play.
Yeah.
I think, Tidwell's he's only pitched 2 innings, once this entire season. So I think that on Saturday we could potentially see a Tidwell start followed by Sewell in the 4th inning, even if Tidwell's doing well.
Yeah, you need to get this guy some innings. You need to get Blade Tidwell in a rhythm and some innings.
And you need to get him stretched also. And what I mean by that is you need to get him some consistent innings, 3 innings, 4 innings, 5 innings. If you want him to make any sort of postseason start, which you need to be able to do when you have a team that can go to the College World Series, you need to have 3, 4, 5 guys that can make a start in a week because of the way the tournament is kind of set up. You need to be able to stretch him out to be able to start a reasonable amount without burning your bullpen. And I think that's tremendously important, especially for this Tennessee team, because the teams with the best starting pitching typically do very well in Omaha. And that is the strength of this Tennessee Vols baseball team right now, especially considering that he's not even been playing.
Yeah, you have 2 pitchers who are weekend starters in the SEC who have that experience, currently injured, currently inactive. With Seth Halverson, we're not really sure if he's really going to pitch this season, but Blake Tidwell has pitched this season. You just got to see him in a weekend starter. I think eventually we'll see Chase Burns go to the bullpen. Just like some.
I mean, but like, what if he deals 6 good innings on Friday?
Then I really
Then
don't
what?
know.
You
I
can't
think you
just
still-
demote him. You
Yeah.
can't just do that. You got to ride him until he's back. You have to let him just work his way out of the slump. If you go and demote him to the bullpen, that's going to kill his confidence infinitely more than any time he's playing bad in a game individually, in my opinion.
I just don't know what they're going to do because
Now there may be just too many pitchers for too few spots. Now that I can believe.
Yeah, that's why I think he's ultimately going to go to the bullpen. I think he'll be the odd one out.
And see, I think that there's plenty of midweek games that he can start. You know, the midweek rotation is always kind of a toss-up anyway. You got to keep him, starting games. You have to keep him in that rhythm because you're going to need him to play in the postseason as a starter. You can't just demote him to the bullpen and then try to bring him back.
Yeah, I honestly don't think Chase Burns is going anywhere. I mean, Tony Vitello said after the Friday game, he's just going to get back to work and pitch again next Friday. I think they have a lot of confidence in him, and I think he's shown why they should have a lot of confidence in him earlier on in the season, and I think he's going to get out of the slump.
But ultimately, somebody's going to have to be the odd one out.
Yeah, but
I mean, my pick was Drew Beam, but Drew Beam has been probably the best Tennessee pitcher so far this
Jack,
season.
who's been starting on the midweek games?
well,
Xander
It
Seacrest.
was Blade for a couple of weeks, and then now it's back to Xander because Blade's going to start this weekend. But yeah, Xander Seacrest.
See, the midweek games are the easiest ones to kind of shuffle around.
Right, yeah. That's why they threw Blade in there as the starter because they didn't have any room for him. So they're like, just start him midweek.
Yeah.
And,
I
they
think
gave
we'll
Xander
still see
time
Chase. I think we'll see whoever is the odd one out as a midweek starter, and obviously once you get to the postseason, you're going to have a rotation of 4 or 5 starters.
Exactly.
So, but
it's never bad to have multiple guys that, it's better to have guys who are prepared to start come out of the bullpen in, May and June than to have guys coming out of the bullpen and expecting them to start. I think that's what it really boils down to.
Yeah, absolutely, Jason. And, it's just an embarrassment of riches on the mound for Tennessee. And
we love to see it.
It's an embarrassment of bats, too. I mean,
be honest. Tennessee's already having trouble. I mean, I do not envy Tony Vitello because the lineups that he's having to make, the pitching staff is loaded. Your bats are loaded. I mean, you just have so many guys who can hit the baseball really well as pitch the baseball, do really everything you need, and would be starters on the majority of SEC teams.
Yeah, and it's so crazy about this hitting lineup, Jackson. It's like every single person has had their, shine. It's a couple of games to shine throughout the season. We had Trey Lipscomb. We've had Cortland Lawson a couple of games. Obviously, Mike Honcho and Luke Lipsius and Evan Russell. And now it's Jarrell Ortega.
Jarrell Ortega. What? 2 back-to-back 4 hit games, and then multi-hit games all weekend, 4 in a row, including last night in a 9-3 win over the Bellarmine Knights. Because Jarrell Ortega is hitting the baseball better than any Tennessee player
Bellarmine is
right
good.
now.
They're a decent baseball program.
Just because they're from Louisville?
No, because they historically are a decent program, but they're not on that level. And I think the Vols took care of business yesterday. But I don't think that a convincing win over Bellarmine should be overlooked. They are in a lot of games. They have a pretty decent program up there.
Yeah, and I really do want to just focus on
I don't
Jarrell.
even like Bellarmine. Jack?
I know, I was just messing with you.
But Jarrell Ortega, this guy has absolutely showed out the last couple of games. The huge homers. He has been the guy for Tennessee, and it's really interesting to see how this team has fluctuated through guys. I felt like it was Jarrell earlier in the season, or he was one of those top guys.
He had a really good season opener against Georgia Southern. So
yeah,
but like you said, it's gone through everybody. Like anybody you can name, they've had
Jared Dickey was
had a
hitting
bright couple of games.
Like
yes, of course.
prime Barry Bonds at one point this season.
Pretty much everyone who's hit for Tennessee has had really, really couple good games, except Charlie Taylor.
Charlie Taylor has had a rough go of it.
He's a hell of a catcher, though.
He's good. He's good. He's great behind the plate.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's just when he's in front of it that it kind of goes south. It's just, what do you expect to see from this lineup as we move further down the line into the postseason? Do you think it'll be more of like 3 or 4 guys stepping up, or do you think we'll see this constant fluctuation of you're our guy this day? Like,
yeah, that's a good question. And I think you will see, the cream kind of rise to the top as the season goes on. I mean, I think Jordan Beck and Drew Gilbert are the main guys of this Tennessee lineup, but I also think Jarrell isn't going to go anywhere. And I think Evan can still get hot at any point in the season. But I think with these freshmen, we've seen Christian Moore struggle a little bit. We've seen Jared Dickey struggle a little bit. So those guys will keep probably fluctuating with Seth Stevenson thrown in there as well. But Honcho and Gilbert and Lipscomb, obviously can't forget Lipscomb.
The SEC RBI leader, cannot forget him.
The MVP of this Tennessee, batting lineup so far this season. Can't forget about him having a heck of a senior year.
Yeah, and, obviously you're looking at this Tennessee team, and Jared Dickey, obviously you said it, has really started to struggle, had 4 straight flyouts to the exact part of the exact same left fielder on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's really struggled since he got injured.
Yeah, I mean, that bone bruise did not feel good, and you can see it even still when he runs. I think you can still see how he's not all the way 100%, but he is still a reliable bat, and his on base percentage is pretty good. Those flyouts were just pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, it was like Mike or Jordan Beck, Mike Honcho. I almost called him Mike Beck.
The names get blurry as the days goes on,
and so when the team went to Houston, and even when they got back from Houston, Jordan Beck was really struggling with just really squaring up and hitting the baseball, but just flying out straight to center, right, or left.
Yeah, and I mean, Ortega's recent string of games is a perfect example of how you can turn your season around. Because like you said, Jarrell started off pretty hot, then he kind of tampered off as the season went on, and Christian Moore was getting second base starts in the midweek. Not that that's because Ortega was struggling, just to get other guys in there and get some work. And people were, on Twitter and stuff, people were kind of saying Simo should be starting at second, but
I haven't seen that in a while.
That has been put to bed.
And he has tucked, Jarrell Ortega has tucked those rumors.
Yeah, back-to-back 4-hit games. Best hitting streak of his career.
And, it's really good to see from the Tennessee baseball team as they take on Florida this weekend. And, I wanted to get into a little bit of Vols in the NFL because the NFL draft is 1 week from tomorrow. Velus Jones Jr. completed a visit with the San Francisco 49ers today. And what do we think about Juwan Jennings and Velus Jones Jr. in the same offense?
I want to go to Riley with this one. Riley, our Juwan Jennings stan. What's going on?
Look, to me, it's just kind of crazy because, thinking about it, a guy that can kick return, do things out of the backfield, catch long passes. Wouldn't it just be crazy if the 49ers needed somebody like that, And, with all these Deebo Samuel rumors coming out, all of a sudden, Velus to the 49ers looks so much more realistic to happen, And, hey, I'm all for San Francisco Volunteers becoming a thing. I love, like you said, I love Juwan Jennings, one of my favorite players at UT football of all time. And I'm going to look for him to get an expanded role if the 49ers do decide to move away from Deebo Samuel.
I mean, he would be wide receiver too if Deebo Samuel is gone.
And the most physical wide receiver on the team, period.
Yeah, I mean, he's big.
Yeah.
He's not very fast. I mean, that's never been Juwan's strength. It has never been. He's an all-time Tennessee Volunteer. He's worked his way. He's on the practice squad his rookie year in 2020. And in 2021, we got to see him run around, catch touchdowns, break tackles, and show what he can do on an NFL field. And
run block.
Great
run blocker. His numbers run blocking last year were just incredible.
Yeah, one of the best run blocking wide receivers. Obviously, that's very valued in that offense because, they're giving the ball off to Deebo Samuel for at least the time being. Mm-hmm. But seeing Juwan Jennings flourish in this offense, Velus has to look at it and be like, okay, this guy came from Tennessee. As, obviously they're going to have different career paths because obviously Velus is going to get drafted a little bit higher than Juwan was.
Players,
yeah. But, this is where a Tennessee guy came and had success. It would be really cool for Vol fans to see them on the same field together because we never got to in Tennessee.
Yeah, and I think Velus really suits Kyle Shanahan's type of offense too. Deebo Samuel and Velus Jones Jr. are very similar players, and Kyle Shanahan loves to run the ball. You can see Velus taking end arounds all day, every day in that offense, as he works himself up to become a better pro.
And, what do you guys think about the other Vols in this class? Matt Butler having some visits with the Titans. What do you guys think? Where do you guys think these other guys are going to go?
I think Matt Butler and Cade Mays will be, later round draft picks. I do think they still get drafted. But then you got Alontae Taylor. He had a pretty good showing in Mobile. He had a pretty good combine. So I think he can go around round 3, round 4. I think he's a pretty good cornerback in this class. But yeah, Velus and Alontae lead this class with Butler and Mays kind of in the back. And I don't think Theo Jackson or Javonte Payton get drafted, but I could definitely see them being undrafted free agent signings.
And see, I think those two guys are names to watch on the last day as the draft kind of winds down. Those are the types of guys who fit schematically very well with some individual teams. And it would not surprise me to see one of those teams snag those guys on, the last day.
You talking about Butler and Mays or Peyton and Jackson?
Javonte Payton and Theo Jackson.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Those are guys who I think schematically would be tremendous pickups for, the right teams, but they have to be the right scheme fit. And for that reason, I think that they might get drafted later on because it only takes one team. Those are guys to watch. I tend to agree with you, but I think there's a really good chance, especially Theo Jackson, with the versatility he brings. I would almost say that he's going to be drafted.
I lean more in the direction of Javonte Payton. I think he's got all the traits you look for in a wide receiver, and he just needs an opportunity to prove it. I mean, I think he's got NFL speed, he's got NFL size, he can catch the ball well. I mean,
but again, they're guys who in the right place, would make sense on, as kind of dart throws on that last day that have some upside.
Yeah, and he's proven against. he had a long touchdown in multiple SEC games. I mean, he really played well this season. I like Javonte Payton to get a late round flyer. Like he could be Mr. Irrelevant, like kind of in that range, last 10 picks or so.
Yeah. I'm right there with you because you look at this, and with the Vols wide receivers in the NFL, it's been, Josh Palmer went, I think, the 4th round, and he became a really really solid starter for the Chargers. Juwan Jennings went in the 7th round, was on and off that practice squad, and now he's a really solid starter for the 49ers. Velus Jones is getting a lot of hype going into this draft process. You're looking at, I think teams are starting to take notice, they will start to take notice that these Tennessee wide receivers are a lot better than what a lot of people are giving them stock for. And, now that the quarterback play and the offense at Tennessee is really starting to pick up, I think a lot of those wide receivers start to get a second look.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting draft to watch. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we're going to talk a little bit about the NFL, A.J. Brown situation, Deebo Samuel situation, a little bit of Baker Mayfield. We'll be back here on Rock Solid Sports.
Original music pioneers.
Right on, brother. I hear you. Man, I hear you.
Bringing Knoxville new music first.
Good for you, man. Good for you. Good for you.
Left of the dial, it's 90.3 The Rock.
Wow, that is sensational.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from Tennessee Smokies Baseball, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, whose 2022 regular season schedule features 6-game homestands Tuesdays through Sundays at nearby Smokies Stadium in Kodak against the Chattanooga Lookouts, Mississippi Braves, Birmingham Barons, and more. WUTK's Rock Solid Sports will cover Smokies Baseball all season long. SmokiesBaseball.com, and a link is at WUTKRadio.com.
What are you going to do today, Napoleon?
Whatever I feel like I want to do. God! 90.3 The Rock plays more local music than anybody in town. Sweet.
That's what I'm talking about.
90.3 The Rock is local music's best friend.
If you need to use any of my skills, I can do whatever you want.
Volunteer Radio stays on air thanks to Cool Beans, the 21-up college sports bar next to campus on Lake Avenue, a block off the strip. Cool Beans has 25 rotating beer taps and bottles. HGTVs everywhere, along with darts, pool, and arcade games. Open every day at 11 a.m. till late night. Burgers, wings, and sandwiches, Vol card accepted. Cool Beans hosts Rock Solid Sports every Monday night at 7. Trivia Tuesdays, Bingo Thursdays. More on Instagram at Knox Cool Beans or CoolBeansBar.com.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to listener donations and support from the UT Athletic Department. After making it to Omaha last season, the 2022 baseball fall season begins in February and runs into May, featuring games with SEC rivals South Carolina, Alabama, Georgia, and more at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Season, group, and individual game ticket info is at allvols.com. Students need to show their valid UT ID at the gate for entrance. Tune into Rock Solid Sports for UT baseball coverage, and The Rock wishes Coach Vitello and the Baseballs good luck on the diamond this season.
The Rock thanks the Hill Bar and Grill for their support. The Hill on Forest Avenue is open 7 days a week at 11 a.m. until late night for dining indoors or on the expanded patio. The Hill has a variety of appetizers and a full menu of wings, burgers, tacos, and more. The Hill is our Thursday Munchie Madness sponsor and home of Friday's Rock Solid Sports. On Instagram at The Hill Knox. Menu at thehillknox.com.
Support to keep WUTK on air comes from listeners and from the UT Athletic Department and the UT Lady Vols softball team, whose home season schedule at Sherry Parker Lee Stadium features games against SEC rivals Texas A&M, Auburn, and others. Allvols.com for Lady Vols softball tickets and more. UT students need a valid UT ID for admission to all home games. WTK's Rock Solid Sports provides UT softball coverage. Volunteer Radio wishes the 2022 Lady Vols softball team good luck as they compete to return to the College Softball World Series.
Knoxville, be sure to tune in Wednesday nights from 8 until 10 p.m. for The Alternative, sponsored by Bliss and Tory Mason Shoes on Gate Street and in West Town Mall. And Bliss Home at the Gallery Shopping Center, also sponsored by Boyd's Chicken Grill Bar and Live Music Venue in the heart of Knoxville's Old City. The Alternative features 2 hours of the best in Americana music from the station who first brought Knoxville music by bands from back in the alt-country days, like the Jayhawks, Uncle Tupelo, Steve Earle, and Jason and the Scorchers, to 90s Americana like the V-Roys, Whiskey Town, Lucinda Williams, Sunvold, and others, to modern-day Americana musicians like Molly Tuttle, Tyler Childers, Casey Musgrave, Sturgill Simpson, Billy Strings, and the Punch Brothers. You'll also get classic Americana like Johnny Cash, the band, and Emmylou Harris, and there's always Patsy Cline at 9. Tune in Wednesday nights at 8 for The Alternative. Sponsored by Boyd's Chicken Grill, Bliss Home, and Tory Mason Shoes, and only on 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
Welcome back to Rock Solid Sports. I'm your host, Jackson Williams. I got Jack Foster next to me. We got Dylan Becker across the glass, and we got Riley Haltom at our sponsor, Fieldhouse Social. Riley, what's going on at Fieldhouse?
We're down here, good food, sports on all the TVs, man. It's a great atmosphere at Fieldhouse Social. NBA playoff games, kind of crazy right now. KD is pushing people all over the place. It's a pretty crazy game, but you know how it is. Great times down here at Fieldhouse Social. Come visit, get some good food, watch some sports, enjoy the atmosphere.
Yeah, NBA playoffs in full swing. Definitely going to be something to talk about with Bryson on Friday. We got a little bit of time left here, and we're going to talk NFL because the NFL has gone bonkers this offseason. I mean,
to say the least.
As it finally seemed to cool down, we're going to make it to the draft without any major issues. A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel, as well as Terry McLaurin all said on Monday that they will not be attending their team's voluntary workouts on the field. Terry McLaurin went to meetings and everything, but he will not be doing any field work. A.J. Brown was absent, as well as Deebo Samuel. And now coming out today, Deebo Samuel has requested a trade from the San Francisco 49ers. What are we thinking about this? I mean, the Niners want to get a deal done with Deebo, but Deebo does not want to be a San Francisco 49er anymore.
Yeah, and it seems like he doesn't want to be a San Francisco 49er wide back, according to NFL Network insiders. So, I mean, San Francisco can probably offer him enough money, I think anyway, but like the report is, Deebo says he doesn't want to be used in that type of situation. He wants to be a true wide receiver. And I don't think that that's what suits him best. We saw him absolutely demolish teams in their playoff run. He was outstanding. And I think the 49ers should try their hardest to keep Deebo because he's a staple in all.
Yeah, but I mean, I understand it completely from Deebo's perspective because once you go into that running back role, they will try to put you in that running back box. No matter if you are a wide back or a run, like any type of running back, it lessens your value. You will get less money. You will get less years out of your career. And I mean, I totally get it why Deebo would not want to be a wide back. Obviously, he was very good in that role, and he was incredible as a wide back, electrifying. But looking at it from a career standpoint, he's like, I can play 13 years or I can play 8 or 9.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jackson. He's we're not going to see that wear and tear on his body as a true wide receiver. And I mean, all these true wide receivers getting the bags like they are. Not saying Debo couldn't as a wide back, but with the wide receiver market, what it has become, it's very enticing.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at guys like Tyreek Hill, guys like Devontae Adams, Christian Kirk, for some reason. That guy's a wide receiver 3 getting paid wide receiver 1 money. I'm telling you, the Jags did that because they knew the Titans were about to have to pay A.J. Brown.
I love that conspiracy.
Because, I mean, what other reason is there to give Christian Kirk that kind of money? No other team. That's like when you're on an eBay auction and you just keep hitting bid, even though you're the top bidder. You're just outbidding yourself.
It's kind of like me last year. I did my first Dynasty Fantasy League. I bought Christian McCaffrey, first overall pick for like $75 of my $200 budget. That is paying Christian Kirk $21 million a year.
Yes, how'd that work out for you, Jack?
I finished last in the league.
Yeah, that's what I figured with Christian McCaffrey making up almost half of your team's budget. But
and I took Travis Etienne with like $40, so I was totally screwed.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So about 100 downs played out of those two combined. So let's get back to Debo, AJ, and Terry, because obviously there's a lot to unpack here. Where do you think Debo could go? Like, what do you think is a team that would really use him in the correct way that he obviously wants to be used? Obviously, a team is going to have to commit and say, we will not use you as a wide back. We will use you as a true receiver.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure, but the first team that came to mind as far as moves they have tried to make is the New York Jets. They tried their hardest to get Tyreek Hill. I know you laugh because it's the Jets, but it could be a really serious option. They have the money to spend. I mean, New York is technically a good market. The Jets aren't a good team, obviously, but New York is an all right market, and they're looking to build as a young roster.
I'm sorry, man. It's just the Jets. The Jets think they're getting every player. It's like, I mean, it is wild.
Well, I mean, Tyreek was close.
I mean, they've been in on everybody. It's just they haven't landed anyone. I do think Debo could go to the Jets, and I mean, he'll sell tickets. I mean, the Jets aren't anywhere near the playoffs.
I mean, you got to build around Zach Wilson. You have Elijah Moore, yes, but you need another piece.
And I think if you're Debo, you want to go to a contending team. I really don't get why. I mean, obviously, Jimmy G is not the best quarterback, and you want to be used as a wide back or wide receiver rather than a wide back. But like, why leave San Francisco? You've made a conference championship 2 out of 3 years. You've made a Super Bowl.
Well, they are kind of.
You've been an impact player. I mean,
the quarterback change can play a part.
Seattle's no longer a threat in that division. I mean, obviously, you have the Rams. The Cardinals are wannabes. They're wannabe contenders.
True.
And so you're in a division that's really helping you out other than, obviously, the Rams. You have one really true threat in the Rams. And other than that, I mean, you're in a good spot in San Francisco right now.
Yeah, I don't really know, to be honest, Jackson. I mean, all you can say is what the reports have been about his desires of what he wants to play and what type of football he wants to play. But, I mean, it could have something to do with Trey Lance. You know, the 49ers are going to roll with Trey Lance as their starter moving forward. Maybe he didn't like that. Maybe there is a financial problem here that they can't pay him enough money that he wants, even though that has not been reported yet, and Debo hasn't said that. But it's pretty puzzling, and it took me aback for sure.
Yeah, it was definitely the most surprising thing because, I mean, you look at that offense. I mean, you have Trey Lance, who I think is going to be a very good quarterback. I like Trey Lance a lot.
Okay.
You have George Kittle, probably the a top 3 tight end in the NFL. Yeah. You have Brandon Ayuk. You have Juwan Jennings. You have lots of good weapons.
No matter which running back you put back there, they're going to do well in the Shanahan offense. So.
Yes, I mean, you are in a position to succeed with a good head coach, a good offense. That defense is really good with Fred Warner and those guys. I mean, I just don't see the appeal in leaving San Francisco, but obviously it's his career, it's his decision.
Yeah.
Let's get into A.J. Brown a little bit because obviously he's the local guy, the star wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans. Will not be attending voluntary workouts like we said, but also, tweeted out some tweets on Tuesday night, or Monday night talking about, fans calling him a diva for not showing up and stuff like that. Do you think, the fans could drive A.J. Brown away?
I don't know.
Because AJ on Twitter, you've seen AJ Brown on Twitter.
Yes, I've seen him. Not near as much as you. I don't follow him religiously like you do.
I mean, his Twitter, AJ Brown on Twitter is an elite follow because, and you gotta have his noties on. You know why? Because he will delete it within 5 minutes. So if you don't see it, you missed it.
It's like a little splash play.
It really is. So
like Tony V on Ped.
It really is. But yeah, I mean, AJ Brown definitely on Twitter is an elite follow, but obviously all these tweets being sent out, Titans are trying to pay him. They've said they've been trying to pay him. Obviously, Jets fans are saying he's coming to the Jets. What is going to happen with AJ Brown?
AJ Brown is not going to the Jets, and I'll tell you why. He liked a tweet saying that, like, somebody said, the Jets want you, I promise, and somebody responded, he doesn't want the Jets, and he liked that he doesn't want the Jets tweet. So AJ Brown is not going to the Jets, I promise you that. But yeah, I don't think the fans drive AJ Brown away. I think Titans fans have really shown an appreciation for what AJ Brown brings to the Titans, and it's a very, very, very small minority of people, one or two guys on Twitter that are just saying he's a diva. I think most Titans fans understand he doesn't have to go to the voluntary workouts. He wants his money, and I think most Titans fans want the Titans to give him that money. So I don't think the fans drive AJ Brown away. If anything, it's a very, very small minority of people.
What's going to really like be annoying to have to talk about until July? This, because the Titans don't make contract extensions until July. If you look at guys like Taylor Lewan, Kevin Byard, Derrick Henry, all signed extensions in July. Those are the big name players. And so why would J-Rob change his schedule? So this is going to be a topic for a long time in Tennessee.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like tomorrow you wake up and AJ Brown has a new deal.
Well, if the Titans are smart, they'll keep him because they need him.
They do. I mean, he is the only receiver who I trust Brian Tannehill throwing to, which is
and the dynamic with him and Robert Woods is going to be so beautiful if they can work it out.
Yeah, if Robert Woods comes back and he's healthy, it's going to be an elite combo because I mean, Robert Woods is one of the best route runners. AJ Brown's that physical receiver with breakaway speed. I mean, AJ Brown is a probably top 10 wide receiver in this league. Definitely top 10, top 7.
Yeah, you could, as far as just raw talent, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's among the best with DK.
And, I mean, the chemistry he has with Ryan Tannehill is unmatched. You have to keep him in Tennessee. And it's just going to be interesting watching. You know who's been really quiet in all this? Terry McLaurin. Feels like all the other guys are getting all the attention.
Yeah. Oh, scary Terry keeping it quiet.
But, he's with the Commanders. And if I had to pick the worst situation that a receiver would want out of, it's in Washington with that dysfunctional organization with Carson Wentz. But he's the quiet one. This makes no sense to me.
Yeah, you got a really good point there. Yeah. I don't know much about the Terry McLaurin situation, to be honest.
Nobody does because he's not
kept
talking.
It quiet. But he's another one of those receivers going into his third year. So we'll just have to see what happens as these guys continue to try and get contracts.
It's definitely going to be an interesting offseason. Next week, we'll be talking NFL draft. It'll be draft day eve show next Wednesday night. We are looking forward to it. For Jack, Dylan, Riley, I'm Jackson, and we will catch you guys next week.